Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Headspace Podcast. It's your boy HSR, and well, it's just me. Now, I've seen enough of these solo podcasts up on the internet to realize that it's still a podcast, even if nobody's with me. So fuck it, we're gonna do it today. Chris had a wedding to go to, so he couldn't be here. And instead of pushing the episode, I thought we'd try something a little bit different. We'll get into that in a minute. We're going to just do some housekeeping. And if you do want to skip that, check the description of this video and you'll see when the episode actually starts. So we're going to go ahead and begin with one of the best favorite comments of last week that we've ever had, because last week we did G-Mo-Ski's Charlie and the Fill Factory, and this week's comment is from, holy shit, it's from G-Mo-Ski himself. That was I've just, to actually have the artist come and comment on the video, it's pretty fucking cool. Wow, that was a dope review. Thanks for checking out my album and giving a fuck. I give a fuck about every album we talk about on this channel. And it was really fun to check out that album. You should also check out the Charlie and the Fill Factory, whatever. It was in the corner at some point. Check out our review. From there you can get to the album. We'll convince you. That was pretty cool and even spot on. And this is literally my favorite part, because Chris and I had a little debate, as we sometimes do. And sometimes you never get closure because it's just speculation. But not this time, because G-Mo came in and said, just to clarify, it was Brian who got shot for asking him a question. Thank you. It was nice. It was nice to have G-Mo basically tell me that I was right about it, that debate. So I enjoyed that moment a lot. I enjoyed the fact that he shared it. He checked it out. I believe it was Mozart who posted it on his status and brought him to light, and that's awesome, because Mozart is one of our patrons, along with Lindell Williams and Super Old School 1994, and just to see that anyone can support us, that's fucking incredible. We'll talk a bit more about that at the end, because whatever, advertising, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, y'all came in. What we do here is break down an album track by track by track, give an opinion, and then just let you know how I feel about it. It's usually more of a conversational thing, but yeah, so tonight it's just me, and today we are talking about D.Craze the Destroyer's The Great Unknown album. Now, to be clear, I am not the most astute hip-hop head. I mean, I feel like I'm a kind of smart guy, and I kind of learn a lot as we go through these episodes, and I've had a chance to study hip-hop a bit, but we're going in a new direction now. We're moving more into underground hip-hop, which is something I haven't fully wrapped my head around yet. It's kind of new to me. I'm starting to recognize just the different lanes as they are. But D.Craze saw, I think, our review and then hit us up on Facebook, which was amazing. So yeah, we have Facebook, Twitter, and all that up behind that suit. And he asked me to just check it out and whatever. And honestly, the features that we'll go through on this album, I was like, whoa, the fact that this guy even knows these people and is talking to me made me feel a little bit cool. I'm not gonna lie. And then I listened to it and I was like, you know what? I could legitimately review this and not have to compromise my integrity to make him sound good. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't want to necessarily talk about people where I'm going to have to insult them or something like that. That makes me feel a little uncomfortable. So if your shit's good when you holler at me, I might just review your album, because this was fucking good. Anyway, your spoiler alert, I enjoyed this project. Even just so I don't know anything about D.Craze. Shit, he has a website, and I forgot to say what it is. Anyway, in the description you'll see more about his information. He has his main website there where you can check out his other work. I believe he sells all of his albums together there. So if you want to really show some love to the dude, it's a great opportunity. He's underground, so that's a smart he kind of relies more on the love of y'all than say proper back people. Not to disrespect it, but just trying to plug him a bit because he made this dope ass project. Otherwise, Spotify links below so you can check it out. And if you look at I saw this album cover, and he's just him facing away, and it's all cosmic and stars and shit in his silhouette. So you kind of see him, but it's also all the stars and whatnot. Otherwise, it's just this white background, and it's kind of the great unknown. You get to go expand your mind in the universe by checking out this guy's project, and I kind of like it. It made me just a little bit curious, even just hearing the title, because what is the great unknown? It's just one of those things where you might kind of get lost and get a little bit pensive on and start thinking about stuff like I would think about the universe. It's pretty vast. Like we're a tiny little speck in like this giant universe where like anything could be out there and stuff. It's pretty fucking crazy when you really start to think about the great unknown, or even just like the human brain and like how little we really understand about the way we're like hardwired at a psychological level and stuff. We've like scratched the surface, but we don't know shit. Anyway, lots of great unknowns. I mean, you can go God, you can pick all sorts of subjects. So got me really curious. Stylistically, I had no idea what to expect when I got this. I just thought maybe it would be different. Maybe it would be like cool. And yeah, I'm just kind of rambling a bit. It's a little bit weird not having people with me. I might say that a couple of times. Bear with me. And I promise, though, that I will say what I mean.
Puzzles feel like a lost survivor trapped under the rubble. Trying to juggle these troubles, having a ball with your bottles. Game deadly with subtle meanings get lost.
I can't say this is what I was expecting. Like you heard the little clip there with that kind of spacier beat or whatever. Like almost maybe like EDM driven or something. Definitely like not regular, which is awesome. It caught me hooked. That hook, who I don't know who the singer is. I asked him. It said it wasn't him, and it's just such a cool chorus. I don't know if I wrote it down. I kind of took a bunch of notes, but we'll see what I actually ended up writing down. So, quick preface: the lyrics aren't available online, so like when I can go on Genius and copy paste, I can go like deep, almost line by line sometimes. But when I actually had to sit there and listen, like this took me a little bit longer to actually put together as a review than like say other projects given its length, just because I wanted to take the time to try to find something to say about every song. So bear with me if it feels incomplete compared to some of the other ones. So I guess that's a fair note to all you indie folk out there or undergrounds. If you put your stuff on Genius, which is real easy to do, it makes everyone's life easier to cover you. But no disrespect or anything like that. Just a suggestion. I personally think it would be good for brand equity and SEO, so I'll be doing it myself as I release stuff over the future. Back to this more important shit. The beat's fucking amazing. I don't know who made it, but it's so fucking cool. And I kind of just, from like a song structure point of view, he has the chorus come in and it starts it off, and it's really nice. But the second time the chorus comes in, he punches it with these ad-libs, and I feel like it totally enhanced the experience of the song, gave it a little more life, a little more diversity, and I thought that was really noteworthy and cool. I believe the chorus is, want you to say what you mean. You can't sue me. If I get stuff wrong, I'm so sorry. When you say you've broken everything, you take the feeling away. And it felt so rock almost, so like powerful, and I just enjoyed the way he came in and sang that. I thought it was great. It got me almost hooked. It did exactly what a hook's supposed to do. And then he comes in, D.Craze here, and he's like, say what you mean, don't sugarcoat shit. Something, communication is supposed to open, but I was down to roll, but it was all for show. No, I go round and round like a do-si-do. And he comes in, and it's like quick, and it's hard-hitting, and he's got one of those voices where like it really kind of has this edge to it where it makes it sound distinct. Like you can clearly identify him next to other people. And I was really like, wow, it was talent. He's clear. He comes in. Some stuff was a little hard to pick up. And I don't know if it's an accent or just because I'm bad at fucking transcribing lyrics here and there, but whatever. Anyway, I liked when he was just like, words are spoken, are never retracted, leave scars into minds like burns from ashes. And it just, you got this whole like idea that this track's like talking just about like the broken nature of communication. And it's something I got fascinated with because personally I've had a lot of like trouble with arguments and whatnot. So I would like maybe perceive what somebody said incorrectly and then say some stuff by choosing poor words that wasn't necessarily what I meant, and all that would create into bigger arguments. And it kind of hit like a pulse of like, he started off this project, his great unknown, with a subject like communication. It's just fucking broken in this society, in this I guess everyone wants to be right and full of hatred at the same time kind of place we're all at. So I thought that was really cool. Like, I guess he has a lot of braggadocious stuff moving on, but the fact that he made sure to put the very first thing that he was going to say on this album to be something of sustenance and like actual relevancy, like wisdom or something, I gotta just give love to that. That is a really cool and amazing thing to see. So for all y'all haters out there that are like, real hip-hop doesn't fucking exist anymore, I see it all the time. Bullshit. This dude's dropping real shit. Go fucking bump it. Anyway, Let's move on a little bit. I kind of liked when he was like shattered resemblance, similar to gremlins, tattered and torn in the form of remnants. Another love story with a tragic ending, like fireworks on the 4th, no independence. I don't 100% get the fireworks on the 4th, no independence thing. Is that like saying that you're celebrating Independence Day, like you're celebrating your loss of independence through fireworks? Maybe, I don't know. I'm Canadian. Don't give whatever. You can say what you want. But I love the fact that he throws gremlins in there, and he does these random little references that show that the guy's a little bit more than your typical hip hop artist, with like a varied sense of like regular tastes mixed into some of the more, let's say, typical hip hop stuff you'd expect. And I find that humanizes rappers in such an interesting way. Like, it makes it feel like as much as he's a rapper, he's also like a bro you want to hang out with. And I don't mean that in like a negative whatever kind of way. Just like I could see myself being like, yo, dude's smart. I want to chill with him. Shire was anyway. The second verse to me though, it just took like the conceptually the ideas of the first verse and just went next level with it. I didn't quote as much. Words have no meaning to drama queen, just fuel for the fire. Used to cause a scene, all the hollering and screaming got me dreaming of a better day when I say that I'm leaving. From hot to cold for no reason, never know what reality you believe in. And here it's just kind of like, if you just think about the emotional state of everyone and the flippy floppy nature of stuff. And the fact is, if you just kind of preach some shit and like you kind of roll around and enforce your own little bubble, right? It's almost like you get to pick and choose what reality is. And when you're trying to have communication and the focus isn't necessarily about honesty and like the real message of shit, and instead you're very focused on like backing up your own argument, it's kind of antithetical to the idea of communication. Anyway, so I kind of like that. I feel like he really kind of fucking dug that in nice, and it really is cool. I like these like speaking in code like Jekyll and Hyde. There's this general sense of lack of clarity in language, and this creates hate and conflict. This is fucking. Oh, I kind of thought that was lyrics. I don't know why I keep kissing my teeth. I thought that was lyrics, but no, it turned out to just be me fucking reading my own notes. But yeah, I generally enjoy that verse a lot, and it was hard to quote because it was fast. And sometimes the faster ones I found, it took a very longer time to transcribe them, so I may have glossed over some of them, even though the rhymes are consistently on point. Like, some guys who are lyrical like that are okay with wasting bars. And what I mean by that is putting in filler. Like, Logic can be guilty of putting in filler lines where he just puts in cadence setters. And, like, or Tech Nine does it a lot. Like Cricket rhymes. Like anytime he says cricket, it's just like to like fill a flow or whatever. It to me it never really sounds great. But you don't get that with a D.Craze here. You got a guy who's taking the time to make sure that if he's gonna go tricky like that, he at least puts in the effort to use interesting and like thematically supportive language. So all that to say, this was a great introduction. I don't know if I'm going to go this deep into all the songs because I got a little lazier with my note taking as the hours passed on. So 4.5 on 5 for this. I was a little bit hooked. I knew I was going to want to review this at this very song. So, you know, that's what happened. Anyway, really fun. Next one is Family Matters featuring fucking Raekwon.
All my niggas quick to get off, popping collars, kid. It's just a family status. Don't
Yeah, so this one comes in and kind of has like that hype beat sound to it. Like it's I'm really bad at describing beats, but it kind of comes in. They're all like shouting each other up, hyping it up. You hear some like Shaolin shit because you know Raekwon's there, and it just comes in with this energy, and it was great. Like it followed up almost that like because the first track had like a calmer feel to it, like a more ethereal thing, and now we're coming in with that rawness that you fucking need, I guess. Ray starts us off with back for vengeance, glocked up, drinking Ciroc up, call it what you call it. I'm going to call it some block stuff. And I realized I was probably not going to be qualified to like talk about Raekwon shit. My general feelings on Raekwon is he's hyper slangy in one of the most creative and interesting ways. I love his voice, and he's one of those guys who can just say shit, and I can just enjoy listening to it, even if I don't necessarily get everything. This was pretty fucking clear, don't get me wrong. He's back for vengeance, because whatever, Raekwon's coming back again. I gotta say, man, the guy's grind is fucking phenomenal. He just consistently keeps putting out shit. He's glocked up. That would be having a gun. And then drinking Puff Daddy's fucking drink there up. And then he calls I don't know. I think it was Call It What You Call It. I'm gonna call it some block stuff. And yeah, whatever. He's coming in with the street shit. I'm not trying to sound like mean or whatever. I just struggle to analyze the woo at this point. Kanzen insists there's grim context for the world he's from a bit. It's bigger. I like when he's like, the bigger we get, the bigger you fall, the bigger shit, I think. Check the wall full of scholars, bank robbers, ankles, gold joggers, all my quick to get popping collars. It's just some family status. Don't get sprayed up fucking with the family cabbage. And then you get the sense of like, he's putting out the reality, but also putting together the importance of like the family. Now Raekwon does that mafiosa feel, so the family, you picture the mob, you picture Raekwon's like a mob boss of sorts, kind of stamping in and saying, you don't fuck with my peoples, you know, like Raekwon's here validating, like he's, you know, like almost like a pit bull that you're scared of in the sense that he's coming off. Like he doesn't come in mean himself though. He's just letting you know that this is what's gonna happen if you step to a bad way and fuck with them and their acquisition of wealth. The chorus samples like a whole bunch of shit. I'm pretty sure I heard Biggie say, "Read my lips, I'll kill you," so I'm not equipped to know what of those songs were sampled. Usually Genius gives me all of that great info, so whatever. And then then the next verse comes in and it is D.Craze and hired for murder like unfinished burgers, bloody mess. I really enjoyed that line. I just pictured like an unfinished burger being that bloody mess that's on the plate after it, and like how it can maybe ruin your french fries or something. And then I pictured murder and that comparison, and I thought it was a really good creative one that I'd never thought of before, so that was worth bringing attention to. Give my mind an inkling, it starts to thinking, becomes obsessed, turn problems to solution, revolutions televised, society desensitized, the recipe for genocide, demise been visualized, call to riot has been applied, praise the music enterprise before the bullshit 9 to 5. This is like fucking like, I don't want to say conspiracy theory shit, but this is like everything about like the punk, the fucking like fuck the system type shit, like everything is set up to the end of the world in this terrible way. You know, bad things are happening. We're almost building up to a culture that is going to allow willfully a genocide to take place, should it want, due to the general level of ignorance, etc. He can see what's good. He's chasing a dream, fucking 9 to 5. I mean, what else? That little bar almost encapsulated, I think, some of the underground spirit, as it were. I thought it was pretty solid. I didn't quote anything else from this track. I like it. I give it a 4.25. It's not as much of a go-to to me. Just to explain my gradings real quick, like, this is of all music of all time. So, like, the most bullshit of bullshit's a 1, and, like, the greatest song ever is a 5. Or 5 would be something I love enough to go back and listen to any day of the week, any fucking time. 4.5 is, like, great songs, and above, you know, in between. 4 is a good song, even if I don't necessarily like it as much, and then it gets worse from there. So like a 4.25 is a high fucking grade, is all I'm trying to say. I enjoyed this. It was a good song. Definitely something I would find myself wanting to go back to. I would never skip this track. It was really enjoyable. I don't care if that hurts anyone's feelings.
Well, in elegant perversions, the mind's filled with images, a twisted
I feel like I'm going on a roller coaster of style here. And by style, I mean this is completely different. Like, that hook from Nyx, holy shit, she sounds wonderful. The more it hurts, the more I grow. And then, like, the more it hurts just kind of resonates over this very, like, electronic beats. Like, I can't think of anybody who I think it would sound like, but, like, I could definitely picture a very different context than, say, the Raekwon song. And I love that versatility, because him as an artist choosing to take these such drastically different styles and be able to find this flow where he can meet the track and create a completely different experience, that is fucking cool. That should be celebrated, like, way more than maybe people do. Like, this is good. D.Craze uses his voice in a slower, calmer way too. Like, let's say the last couple of tracks are more of what you would expect in terms of the upbeat, rapidy rap type flows and shit. And then he comes in here with this almost calmer, more evil sounding voice. I don't want to say evil, but like darker, like clearly this new tone is being just set. And the fact that he's got multiple voices that you can drop in here is also worth noting as like a dope thing for an artist to have. Childhood memories have rendered me a monster. Stripped of family, been identified by a number. My slumber is monitored. Alarms ring when I'm conscious. Heavily sedated brain in a state of nauseous. Sorry if I butchered that. A lot gets forgotten and swept under the carpet, allowing to feel the pain of the scene, as they call it. Those weren't necessarily connected. It was just kind of to give you a sense of like the tone of this track. It's like you can tell that as a person, he doesn't belong to society. I get that, man. I'm a fucking social outcast. I might blend in pretty well with the middle class. Whoop, but that's just because I'm trying to build some shit. Truth is, I just don't feel like I belong. And that line of like, I want to feel the pain of what they call sane or whatever, that just like hit me real hard. Like that, you know, like when you listen to a song and you just feel like somebody's almost speaking to you. I know it sounds a little cheesy and stuff, but like I'm 30, I work in an office place trying to do all sorts of stuff. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like I'm normal the way that normal people like, you know, put themselves out. So, but there's so many days where it's like, I kind of want to know what that's like almost, but also it would be so painful for me to even like engage in that. I don't know if that's what he meant by it. That's how it hit me. I thought that was pretty fucking deep. I really enjoyed it. Rather cut flesh than confess I've got problems. The silence in response to my scream speaks volumes. Never seen compassion, they're laughing, having a ball. Looking, all I see is genocide. So who do I call? You? And then that's I think in the next verse. And he does have like different song structures too. Like some songs get 2 verses, 3 bridges, like, and that's something I've seen in some of the more underground stuff, or maybe they get comfortable with a certain song structure and then that's it for the album. So just pointing that out. This one has the chorus. It's kind of long. It's got the verses. Anyway, that little part there, I like the idea of trying to cope. Like there are a lot of people who would self-harm, and even if it's not cutting yourself in such a drastic sense, if you're willing to do anything self-destructive to your life rather than get help, there's no fucking difference. And it's just the idea that when he does cry for help, that nobody's even there to respond to it. Nobody gets it. People don't offer him compassion. You know, people seem to always laugh. I kind of get that, man. Like I look around work and I feel like I don't try to fit in or play the game, and the social consequences of that are like fucking terrible, and it sucks. But like, what can you do? You know, I'm kind of hurts, but through that hurt, you grow, and that's the crux of this track, I think. And I thought it was really fucking beautiful. On the other hand, I thought that it was a little bit like the chorus was cool. Like the whole feel of this was nice. It's not something I would be drawn to as frequently. It's a little bit in that like I'm in the mood for it sometimes kind of rhymes while being consistently of the same quality. So I give this a 4.3 subjectively. Anyway, the next one's fucking super cool. I can't wait to talk about Pass the Mic.
Ever evolve and revolve or resolve in the void left in the heart of my dark art.
First of all, D.Craze the Destroyer put together this absolutely delightful animated video of this song. And it's fucking cool. It's well done. The amount of time and effort that must have went into it, you must go check it out in the description of this video. You'll see the link to it. It's just necessary for you to check it out because I just feel like that kind of effort needs to be rewarded. It's fucking cool. I really enjoy, and it was helpful. You'll see why in a minute. So this is a cipher in a sense, I think. It's basically everybody gets their verses, they ram on through, and there's plenty of folk on this track. We get 6 whole different rappers to fuck with, starting with D.Craze, who comes in with this nice, powerful fucking verse. I like when he's like, the game's been lame since Kanye became Kardashian, shorter than these rappers' careers like a book of acronyms. I just had to nitpick. There are a lot of acronyms. I think that book would be longer than some of their careers. I think that there's definitely, like, maybe you're right. I don't know. I just think that it would be shorter than a book of acronyms would be apt because I got fascinated. There's a lot of acronyms for like every field. That's not relevant to much, but it was a great line nonetheless for what you're doing with it. I respect it. Your line is good. I'm just being a shit. The last of them, then grabbed a pen and scribbled a scripture by accident. I've been to hell and back. Again, Ancestry reads a dragonkin. D.Craze is a monster Frankenstein with G's more wily than, I'm going to say filthy Wonka because we talked about that, but he said Willy Wonka. I dug it, man. And then he just keeps on from there with that aggressive tone. It's fucking good. I love it's almost like purity to the underground that seems to be happening here. Like, I gotta admit, Kanye going Kardashian is a good turning point for some shit in life in general. I definitely think it's part of a bigger series of events that did change everything around internet marketing and influencers and stuff. Like, those Kardashians made hella money and changed some shit. Definitely changed what pop is in a sense. So, yeah, that was cool. I didn't really think about that much. I like how he just like accidentally writes a classic in the midst of this. Like, he's just kind of gone through so much shit that it just pours out of him. It's fucking beautiful. But then he passes the mic, and they all kind of end their verses with this like pass the mic line, which is cool. I enjoyed that. It was like that kind of cute, quirky shit that like it's just cute. Like, it's good for a song. Then there's Gorilla Voltage, who it turns out is two people, and the first one is Clockwork. He's really good. I didn't quote a lot from him because I had trouble understanding a couple lines and I got kind of lazy with it. So I like the Viking line and the part about like holding a kite and you curse the gods and wait for the lightning strike, because I pictured like Zeus throwing lightning bolts and shit. But then it could also be like how people take the Christian God and if blah blah blah, may God strike me. It was fucking clever. He goes into like switches into this like super singy flow, but like you're just not expecting the way he sings, where it almost sounds like a Bone Thug based off of like the way he raps. Like, to me, it just caught me fucking off guard, and that was really cool. It was really fun to listen to. And then he passes it over to Mr. Gray, I think it was. Look, I just went to their Facebook page and that was the other guy's name, so I'm assuming that's what it is. Got bars like the slums of the city, you rap bums, bum gums, and we all grime and gritty. And he's just kind of slow, surprisingly slow considering, but like one of those slow rappers where like every word packs this punch and whatnot. So like you don't get bored. You are curious what he's gonna say next because he's saying tricky and interesting shit. So that was cool. It was a good follow up. But like I'm a little bit biased, you know, because Bizzy Bone comes on next, and like I was a little bit biased towards wanting to just talk about this album when I saw the guy was connected to Bizzy Bone in any kind of way. That was cool. I love Bizzy Bone. He's probably tied with Crazy is my favorite Bone. He's fucking phenomenal. Lyrically, not a lot stood out to me. He kind of didn't go too hard with the trickery in his flow, but he came in, you know, he had his classic, like We're Getting High lines and a couple other stuff. I just didn't find that there was anything quotable. Sorry. It was really enjoyable to listen to, though. I found myself getting mesmerized by like how he's spinning it, and without having like lyrics to read along to. In a few of the verses, I just kind of would drift off a bit more than care what he was saying. So don't take it like I didn't like it. It was almost like I liked how he spits more than I cared what he was saying. Then we get Chino XL coming in. I like when he's like, your rhymes are garbage. Your rhymes are garbage and your hand's not a tangible weapon. Forgave your first offense, throwing skulls into furnaces. Worthless kids will be found by body recovery services. I also like when he's like, y'all pussies, like Ghostbusters remake. I'm just kind of picking random snippets because he had a very fast cadence, very like all over. Like he said a lot of different things. It was a lot in the lines of just almost like sometimes it was about him. It was insulting other people. It was just kind of in the vein of what everyone else has been doing with their lines, but just more words were coming out of him. Not to say anything cool. It was amazing to see how he like was creative. I did like the whole rhymes are garbage part, and like your like just the idea of your hands aren't a tangible weapon. Like you can't even fight. Like you're fucking useless, you know. Like, and then you got this sense of like, you know, just I don't know. I did think about the Ghostbusters lines. It was very creative because that is a fair way to describe that movie with four ladies instead of it and just insulting it. I don't know. I don't feel the necessary to use pussy as an insult anymore. I get that it's a part of hip hop. I look forward to like the more creative ways. I feel like it was kind of a cheap joke, but I get it. It's just part of the culture, and I'm not necessarily sure that I care that much more to talk about that. But he comes so fast and he's constant. His tongue really is like that of a contortionist, and he's so clear when he does it that Chino XL is fucking dope. And I feel like I do need to listen to more of him. And then I wasn't expecting it, but Sticky Fingaz shows up too, and he has this grimy ass voice, which y'all know because you probably know Sticky Fingaz, and he just belts it with the grimy. I like when he's like, "You ain't like Biggie, who died and made you king. You hear me? If he bet it, I bet he better battle Sticky. Bars so good. Sorry, that was the first part that I thought was really cool. But it wasn't like saying a lot, but it was like just the way he was saying it. It was enthralling, like just energy. Like his voice alone conveyed more than the words that he was using. Like he could have been saying anything. He could have been talking about riding the bus, but I'd still be a little bit frightened by the tenacity of how he spit those lines. And yeah, I like how he ends the verse. Bar so good, gotta rewind myself. Like what that say, better rewind myself. And then you hear like a rewinding sound, and the song just kind of just abruptly comes to an end. And yeah, it was just a fucking great experience. Like honestly, just this style of all these talented MCs lyrically coming and ripping up the track like that, it was very cool. Like it didn't feel like a cheap posse cut. It felt like a fun cipher that I really wanted to listen to, and I learned a couple new names, saw a couple familiar names, and it was all good in the hood. Anyway, it's gonna be a long review because I talk a lot, so you can say I came, saw, and conquered.
God, please let him again. Harming mentally, what they label me on these.
All right, we is back on the normal rappy songs. So I like the hook. I couldn't fully understand all the words in the hook, and to me that was a little bit bad because it was hard to understand it. Maybe it was just me, but I love the energy of the hook and the idea of it. Like he's like strong, arming mentally. I think he says calm, what they label me, and then it's whatever I came, saw, and I conquered. And like it's really cool. It flows really well, and the theatrical side of that hook is amazing. I just wish that like the punch words were easier to understand. Otherwise, he fucking comes in and he's ripping it. I gotta throw it out there. It sounds like a talented version of the current Violent J, like Violent J of Insane Clown Posse. Like just the way his voice sounds on this track and a few others, it sounds a lot like him. But I enjoyed what D.Craze was doing a lot more than some of the stuff I've heard out of Violent J recently. So it was like a refreshing thing to hear. It was like, hey, that's like back in the day ICP kind of shit. And I happen to enjoy that. So I like how he's like Cunning Linguists, who's a great rap group I discovered recently and listened to. Cunning Linguists, conditioned to finish in ladies' pussies, never settle in raw, veteran, got no time for rookies. So I like that. It's so clever, even if it's bad advice. Don't just finish in pussies with your cunning rhymes and words. You got game, bro. I get that shit. It's totally cool. And kids out there, game is good. And when you are with that lady that you know what's good, finish in that pussy. But don't finish into random ones because, as the cunning linguist taught me, it's just kind of callous behavior that could be very expensive for you in the long run. Okay, that's not really anything. It was a great fucking line because condition to finish in ladies' pussies, you know, when you bust in raw, as they say, and he never settles in, so you gotta get out of there, right? Like, literally, the dick can't stew in the pussy that is full, you know. Anyway, I'm just running with that. I don't know if that's how deep he was going with it. I thought it was really fucking clever. Veteran, got no time for a rookie. Spit flame, never lame. Call me Dragonborn. You, sir, are not the only Dragonborn. I play Skyrim. I'm a fucking Dragonborn. I'm a bad Dragonborn, but I'm still a Skyrim player. Anyway, I love the line. He fucking quoted Skyrim. It was awesome. Once in a lifetime, or maybe it's Game of Thrones. I don't care. I'm playing Skyrim right now. Once in a lifetime, rare design like a unicorn. Like, what? A unicorn comes in? It's fucking great, though, because it flows so perfectly, but it just threw me for a loop because he just dropped unicorn successfully into this fucking song. True to form, lyrics torn from the galaxy, destroying MCs for a living pays my salary. And I'm like, dude, well done. Like, it's fucking a good verse. It's fucking strong, and it's consistent like that pretty much the whole way through. The second verse has a lot of Game of Thrones lines, and it's nice, though. It's a sick track. I give it a 4. It's of all the songs on the album, it's definitely not on one of my favorites compared to the rest of this album, But like compared to other music, it's fucking great. This is really good. I give it a 4. I said that already. Sorry. Next one is Menace to Society.
Avoid the fucking menace to society.
Can I get a witness? I'm the sickest nigga in the universe.
All right, so this one just feels like an underground rap song to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like the beat just has that feel to it, where it's got that energy. Like you just know shit's about to get fucked up lyrically or whatever. It just feels like that when you hear it come in. So I had to play my guessing game on who did what part. I'm pretty sure I was right on this one. D.Craze is on the hook. I just wanted to point out that when you have a fast hook like this one does, and you're able to differentiate it from all the fast verses on your album, that's really cool because it's not the easiest thing for people to do. Alternatively, like a lot of people might just cop out and have a slower, very drastically different hook, but I like the fact that he's able to make these fast hooks on an album. Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty cool. And basically, it's best to avoid the fucking menace to society. So you get the sense that who they are, they're wilding out, they're crazy, blah blah blah. Playboy the Beast, I think, does the first verse. One thing certain, I keep on working and never give up till I obtain everything I've been deserving of. Observing while you lurking in the shadows. I was built for war. I swear you don't want to battle. I was built for beef, so I'm slaughtering all this cattle, and I like that. I like the fact that you get to see his effort, right? Like, I work a lot, and so when I hear about people who admit that you actually have to fucking work really hard for your dreams, or that it takes a long time, it helps me have like the sense that maybe I'm not completely wasting time with some shit, you know? And I like the overall sense of it, and he comes in and it's almost like uplifting while he comes in, like while he's just better and he's causing his like, you know, whatever. I just enjoyed the feeling of his verse. It was really well done. Nothing else that really struck out to me worth like commenting, but he did a great job. Then we have Insane Loke, I think, on verse 2, who, if I'm not mistaken, did a group tape with D.Craze at another point, which, I don't know, I'm going to check it out myself because I really enjoy how Insane Loke sounds on this track. I like when he's like, too sick for mainstream, mental case, I'm pacing. And then I think he like, I don't know. I like the idea that they just perceive themselves in a way where they just can't fit in. So it's almost like they're sick, but it almost feels like, man, this just makes more sense, a lot of this shit and the way they approach it than how, I guess, the mainstream does. Like, the mainstream just feels so illogical and it's formulaic nonsense, whereas these guys have personality and flair, and like it just feels like effort was put into this, you know? And then I think he references a blue flag, which I think is Crips. I mean, maybe implying he's a Crip. Or I like when he goes an underground king like Pimp C and Bun B, because that's cool. I like it when people can give like credit to their influences in like a good way, like in the middle of a verse. Like, these are guys who inspired me, so like, don't, you know, like, it's just cool. It's a respectful thing to do. And then D.Craze comes in on verse 3. And I really liked when he was like, crazed like a massive mastiff, because I was just talking about how there used to be this cool mastiff that lived in like Montreal that we used to see back in the day. Giant fucking dog riding on a unicorn, and D.Craze is a giant muscly looking man from what I can tell, so that makes sense. Hard to comprehend like grown men with juvie porn. Good point. It is kind of hard to comprehend why grown men would have juvie porn. Like, I mean, they do, but it's really hard to wrap my head around it. And anyway, and in the sense, it's a good way of also pointing out how D.Craze is that fucked up, that it's as fucked up in terms of severity as that, not implying that he is like that. Through the storm, stay true to form and send him packing, and in the category of guts and glory, these guys are lacking. And I like that because it points out that like there's almost a certain gladiator spirit, this sense of adventure or willingness to put in 100%, like a real 100%, to go out there and take the beating to get that win almost. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was enjoyable, and he kept it going like that. I give this one a 4.1. It's really, look, I'm primarily into conscious and like deep meaning kind of like I want this song to be about really tangible issues and certain things. This felt like, and in general, I feel like I'm gonna just stumbling a bit, but I'm not saying this isn't that. I'm saying this is more of that lyrical, almost aggression, like the bars for days types rap, which is up there in what I love in hip hop. It's just not my 100% go-to. So if you feel these marks are low or whatever, it's not anything more than preference. I think it's a good fucking song, well made, and I would not skip it if it came out on the album. I just don't know if, compared to some of the other ones, this would be like one of my go-tos when describing my favorites on the album. Like, as an example, I really fucking like Pass the Mic, and anyway, I also really like fucking Came Saw Conquered. Anyway, I just fucking rambling here. So I'm ready to move on.
The knowledge comes with age, but still feel the rage against the system.
Won't ever hold me down, fix only.
Just to like comment at my little blabbering at the end there, it was hard to, maybe I missed some of the nuances of the album because of the lack of available lyrics, so I did what I could. Apologize. Anyway, I'm Canadian. We apologize a lot. You can't get very mad at me for living up to my people. He comes in anyway on this song describing his struggle and his effort, and I like how he like lets you know on this track that he practices, that he like puts in effort. I really like when he's like, knowledge comes with age, but still feel this rage against the system. And if anything, like that line kind of defines a lot of how I perceive my life, at least. I mean, I'm 30 now. I think he's a couple of years older than me based on when he finished high school, according to Facebook. So like, I get where I guess you're at, where like you're older, you're wiser, you make smarter decisions, but at the end of the day, I fucking hate so much that goes on in this system and how things are set up and etc. And to be able to harbor that rage, you're able to fuel it to maybe push yourself past some shit and put in that work and that extra practice. And I feel like he really conveys that sentiment really well in this track, in that first verse. And then Nyx is back again, and she's singing over that chorus, and she really rides the like flow of the beat, which is not your typical rhythm structure. I don't know what it is, but I like how she manages to pull it off really well, and I like how he joins her on the last line of like each like main line bar of the hook, let's say, and he just joins her on like the punch and like accents it in such a really well done way. Like when he's like, was never supposed to win, oppose the orders of chosen men, slip and slide on something, again, no longer telling foe from friend, let's not pretend that I'm innocent, filling with strong intents, despising all incompetence like arguing over homonyms. Again, I was like, fuck, so blown away. So good with like what he's saying here. Like, based on his environment and the situation he comes from, shit stacked against him. He's not really, you know, the right type of people that tend to succeed in life just based off of the lottery of life and where you're from. So he's opposed to that order of chosen men. He's against that. He's like the antithesis. He's going to fucking punk on his shit. And then I like how, like, as you go on your like mission, or at least the way the world's at, it's getting harder to like identify who is on your team, because there are so many fucking teams, who's enemies. The lines are so fucking blurred. And then I also like that I like that he's willing to say, and he says it on multiple songs, that he's not innocent. He knows that he has done stuff and that he's part of certain things, and he acknowledges his role in things. And that level of self-awareness is so important for anyone, in my opinion, to be wise, to have maturity. And he backs it up by like showing how much he hates stuff like arguing over homonyms, which I took as like how people can maybe misinterpret a certain issue in multiple ways, and a word gets mixed up and we get into this big old semantic debate about fucking nothing, missing like the real point of the issue. And he conveyed that so well here, and I really enjoyed that. I like how he's like, improving all my skills to the day I die, I consider ill. Fucking love it, because that's how it goes. If you put in that work, you get better. Fame and all that other shit comes from a different set of things, but success within yourself comes from that grind. But it's not a priority when the majority always has an opinion, believe everything they read because they cannot see past the road to minion. Fucking love it. Because like, why even bother putting in this effort, right? Like, people have already made up their minds about what they like. Pop is what it is. People are what they are. They're also brainwashed in cattle. I'm not even going to say they read. It would be more apt to be like, from all the videos they watched on YouTube from whatever news station they liked. Because reading would probably get people to be a little smarter in general. I feel like they read headlines, but they don't really read. It was more like, but I get the point of what he's saying. It's really fucking real. And sometimes it's like, why bother writing a dope ass line when like half the people won't even be able to like understand the language used to appreciate why it's dope. If the market isn't there, what's the point of the effort? And I got that. Now, lyrically, I love this song, as you can tell. But the beat really was not my favorite on this project. So I'm giving this a 4 because the song is more than just the fucking dopeness of the verses. It is the whole package. But so it's a good song if you dug the beat. If I did, I would give it a higher mark. But lyrically, it's fucking tight and it was fun to talk about. Don't get me wrong, as you saw. Great track. The next one, well, whatever. I'm just being raw.
We beat the drums of war. The pen is like a sword and cut into MCs that want to get some.
So this one's like short. It's a couple minutes. And I like what they do with the structure. It starts off with D.Craze rapping again in his violent J voice. Raw dog with a sawed off, pure adrenaline, nothing in my lane, close to same, no synonym. I like that. He's basically proving his distinction to the point where there's not even other words to describe what he does. It's distinct. Wicked when I kick it. I'm sorry, but the way he said it, wicked, it was like wicked clowns. I'm not trying to devalue what he's saying by comparing him to Violent J. To me, it's really cool because I'm saying I like him better. But I have to point it out. Hostile lyrics, known for breaking men. Then he goes on a bit more, and he hands it over to Havikk mid-verse. And I don't really know who Havikk is, but I really enjoyed his voice. It was kind of calmer, a little bit more laid back. He says a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden he like puts this flair on the way he says paparazzi, and he like rolls his R in a way I never could. And then the hook kicks in, and it's like raw, blah 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 blah. It's got like this bounce to it, and you just feel yourself fucking kicking in. But it's also got like this like cinematic feel to it, like this. It's like grandiose almost. And like, you know, you get the more battle-y feel, like they're gonna just destroy you with their skills, and it's just about skill. It's about like getting in there like fucking gladiators and wrecking it. But then the next verse has Havikk started instead, and he comes in, he's fucking solid. Sorry, there was nothing. I try, given it was like I didn't have lyrics to copy paste, I only really stopped and quoted the shit that I thought was like super noteworthy. Not to say that the rappers didn't necessarily all drop noteworthy shit. And then D.Craze kicks in halfway through the verse, and I like when he's like, play my music loud, then let the crowd sing my praises. I feel like there's a humility in that. Like, he wants to know that the people are willing to back him up. It's not about him tooting his own horn, and frankly, he don't even care what you have to say either, because he knows he gets on that stage, and it's like he lets the courts decide his fate, you know? I really enjoyed it. I liked the overall feel of it. It was a good song, 4 on 5. I mean, yeah, I don't have a lot more to say on this one. And let's talk about Orgullo.
But equal blood pumping through my veins. Latinos known to grind and shine, fly higher than Superman. Just
This one is not one I bothered with a lot of lyrics on because half of the song is Spanish and half of the song is English. Alors moi je peux parler un peu en français, you know, and I could flip in English. Parce que je connais le français, I can flip between those two languages. Me hablo un poquito español only. There you go. Flossing my language skills by myself in a room. So it's got this very Latin flavor to it. I guess he's Puerto Rican, and he just took this track to like floss where he's from, to give some pride to where he's at with some shit, and I really enjoyed that. It was like you felt it. Like this was almost the happiest you've heard him on this album. I love the pride that he puts. The beat is just fucking amazing. It is one of the more enjoyable ones. I'll try to quote some stuff. I hope I got it right. Like there's lines like Vida, señorita, es la vida, ain't nothing new to me. So he's like flipping back and forth like that, like different styles of music, so therapeutic to make a song or something like that. It was hard for me to really understand and pick out everything, but I did like when he's like, if we don't show our pride, they gonna come get us, where you get the sense where you almost have to make this song. You have to put out where you're from. You can't just have it. And like the fact that he made sure to put that Spanish on that record because it's who he is and it's part of his identity. And like, especially with Puerto Rico, like if I'm not mistaken, it should be a state. It's part of the states, but it's not. I might be wrong. I might be mixing that up with something else. But end of the day, they get taxed but not represented. And that's fucked up. That's just not proper. Like, I don't know. The whole situation seems kind of whack to me, and Yeah, so I completely appreciate wanting to like represent where you're from, especially if where you're from has a kind of negative connotation like that. And making it sound so fun. Anyway, 4.25. I really enjoyed this track. I wish I better understood Spanish. Maybe it's something I'll pick up and I'll start to learn more as time goes on, because the, I guess, reggaeton feel to it or whatever, I love it. It's one of my favorite sounds out there, and yeah. Anyway, good track. Let's talk about my story or his story.
Out what it's all about is the one thing I can do without. But I face the facts and never faded to black. I realized I'm alive.
So the premise of this track is everyone has baggage, and he's going to share with you his baggage, and he's going to let it go. So instead of really going into the bars on this, I felt like I would just kind of describe some of the stuff that he went through verse by verse. So I like how he starts off again by pointing out he's not innocent. He's almost working towards a better life. But then to give you a little bit of context into why maybe he's a little bit messed up or why he may have done some darker things, which I don't know. I'm just assuming by like the fact that he keeps talking about how he knows there's there's guilt in him, that he doesn't say he's guilty, but he says he's not necessarily innocent. And I would identify like that too, because you know that parts of who you were might not be the greatest, especially in your 30s when you're thinking back on your 20s, or your early 20s especially. Anyway, so he then talks a little bit about how his family kind of looked down on him. Like his dad like bounced out early, his stepdad would beat his mom and shit. And as a kid, he was witnessing that, and like his memories are like he's almost like suppressed all of these bad memories to a point where therapy isn't even an effective option for him because of, I guess, the trauma that he had to go through in this bad family situation. He then has the girl, Miss Nita, come in on the hook, which is nice. She sounds great. And then verse 2, as a teenager, he's kind of talking about, like, yeah, he felt, like, fucked up as a teenager. Like, he stole a bunch of shit. And then he kind of described a bit how his mom was a bully. And he, like, messed with his mind and did shit, like, gave away his stuff to, like, make him feel like his friends had stolen it. And she just kind of fucked with him and pushed him into this, like, isolation and loneliness. And then he takes all of that pain and shit and he flips with his lyrics, leading into, like, the hook again. And then in verse 3... he just decides that his past is not going to keep him in this negative place anymore. It's like it ends up becoming like almost super uplifting. And it's like having come from this darkened and less than optimal situation, he was given the motivation to travel upwards through life and find like better. And like I can relate to that because I know what bad is. So I know that there's this place I can never go back to that forces me to want to grind on forward. And I feel that is a lot of what he's talking about. You do have to learn how to forgive and to like let go of a lot of your baggage, because as long as you have that there, you're making excuses for yourself. Now, I appreciate your desire to explain what made you this way, because almost like it's like you have to a degree. But the fact that he takes such an approach of proactiveness and like ownership of his actions and his desire to change, but still sharing with you his story, it just felt like proper man shit. I don't know, man. I like this track. I give it a 4.25. The beat's okay and whatnot, but the premise and the actual content is fucking wicked and dope. Anyway, the next track, we're going to talk about a beat I like. It's fucking Screaming Inside.
Ominous, forsaken situations are placed in effect by confidence. The common sense play would say to stay on.
This is the best beat on the album, in my opinion. By virtue, this is my favorite song on the album. I had this at 5. I'm just starting it off like that. I'm a sucker for that, like, guitar, almost nu metal feel that this track gives off. Like, I'm a sucker for that shit. So you'll see that my love of, like, because this gives it replayability for me. This is like a song. I plushed it on Fuck It right away on Spotify. I knew I had to listen to this again. And even if he rapped about like poopity scoopity whoop or whatever, I probably still would have rebumped it just for how blessed the overall production and sound of this track actually is, in my opinion. It's my favorite song, like I said. But lyrically, it's fucking good. You ever been that friend that lent that helping hand to the needy, get the cold shoulder while moving boulders to feed the greedy, head spinning from bread winning, falling to my knees, reach for support but come up short, avoid it like disease, reprieve received for 6 degrees of separation, liquid medication, heart racing, facing this something on autopilot, I'm motivated. I'm like, what he's saying here, to me at least, is that like, he gives out his energy, and he like is that friend, and he offers his selflessness and himself to other people and shit, and instead he's met with like cold shoulders and opposition, and when the time comes where he needs other people, it's like, oh, they can't be found, like the 6 degrees of separation and shit, and you end up kind of dark and lonely and maybe a little jaded and shit, and like, you know, it just captured this emotion of shit that I find super relatable, and that was amazing. I loved it. I love the chorus, the way that it just flows so beautifully into this track. Then sorry, I moved in my fucking note file because sometimes I do that. My little shitty Excel that I bounce around. I could probably use a better format, but I'm a creature of habit. So I love the focus on the darkness inside and his desire to grow, like, past and like beat it, you know. And at the end of the day, I think that's like the crux of this song. He's got this screaming voice inside of his head, this situation, and it's just this, you got to beat it, you know. And yeah, so 5 on 5. I really could not recommend this song more to people, and this is really cool because I could get the metalheads on this one, or at least the rock fans who are open to new metal. So that's fucking cool, and I love the versatility and style, and I think it just shows how brilliant of an artist D.Craze the Destroyer really is. Like, it's fucking cool. And fuck you if you think I'm in trouble for saying that.
Passed out, that means she'll have an inebriated rectum, and that's the easy way to check.
But yeah, Royce the 5'9" showed up. We reviewed his album, and it performed quite well, relatively speaking. And it was a great album. So seeing that name, I was feeling good, having just, you know, talked about Royce a bunch. And I thought it was really cool. I like when he's like, my midlife crisis will be when I'm 101. My life's an accident. My mic is a gun. My daughter and my son's life is like a hit and run. I'm a living bar tab. I might go something to your boys. I'm poison, like I'm scared in a car crash, and it just kind of goes on like that. It's nice. It's got this sense of the aggressiveness that like sometimes when you hear these rappers go, it's almost like a Mortal Kombat match is playing out in my mind a little bit. When the doper the lyrics, the cooler the combo, that gets translated into my brain. And Royce just comes in aggressive, and it was fun to listen to. He has that sense, like that rawness to him. And I like that. I like that he can come off polished and pop, but still sound underground and grimy. Royce is versatile too. I don't remember if there was a hook. I know that's pretty bad. Sorry, there's 20 songs on this. There's a lot to remember. But I do like in the second verse, D.Craze comes in proper. And my favorite part is when he's like, spit a little, riddle, a fiddle, acquittal of the middleman while eating peanut butter brittle with soda pop. And I think it's peroxicam. I didn't know what drug he said. It was hard. I don't know my drugs that well. And otherwise, it's a lot more of that. I don't want to say the same thing, but for the sake of the review, it's a lot more of that powerful, witty bars, just clever wordplay, just consistently changing flows and styles. It is a true pleasure to listen to. This is the kind of song that guys who are going, there isn't any good hip hop left, are just fucking wrong. And again, D.Craze just tells them to shut their fucking mouth. The beat's unfortunately not as good as the last one to me. It's a good song, all things considered. It's a 4.25. I would totally bump this one again. But let's move on to something I thought was a little bit better. March of the Imperial.
I'd highly advise wearing a vest and bringing a few extra dudes on the 6-hour with a 6-hour.
Right, so we've got the return of Chino XL on this one. I really like how this starts, though. It starts with D.Craze on the hook. War-torn, battle-scarred, post-traumatic sickness. Soldiers on the front line dying for big business. Firestorm, reach the ill-informed, mission critical, bleeding out stereo, march of the Imperial. And I like it. I like how it's kind of correlating just the literal side of, like, soldiers and shit, and, you know, the post-traumatic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder kind of comes from, like, when you go to war, go through traumatic shit and flashbacks and whatnot, and it's just almost like we have this, like, sickness going on, but it almost, like, doubles over because, like, of it ties into the big business and how, like, soldiers are literally dying for that, but it almost feels like it doubles over into, like, consumerism and just how the entertainment industry and everything kind of, like, pulls out. So, like, in a sense, everyone almost becomes this, like, soldier as we all march for this imperial system of evil that we're all kind of subjected to. Chino comes in and he's fast and he says a lot of stuff again, so unfortunately I didn't write down as much because of time constraints a little bit. At this point, as I was taking my notes, I was like, fuck, this is taking a lot longer than I thought it would, so in order to get this done, I had to kind of compromise a little bit. I like when he though goes, witness the ethereal ritual, imperial habitual, with a force that is centrifugal, like Master Ace's basses at high decibels. Just it sounded so cool to me. The level of rhyming he's able to do to carry these syllables together while actually telling and driving forward a line is fucking impressive, and it makes me want to take the time to go like listen to some of his own work. Like I said earlier, he definitely brought that again on this track. I liked when D.Craze comes in with the next verse, and he's like, left, right, left, every step a calculation. The faces of the brave men are stuck in battle stations while patiently waiting for orders from the state, man, sending kids to die while they lying on vacation, get baptized with bullets in this foolish land of vagrants, take away the freedom and just leave them with complacence. And I feel like Chino's verse was a lot less political and therefore a lot less interesting to me, considering the hook of this song and etc. But D.Craze really brought that in with all the with everything I could want out of that, and it really shows almost like a slightly different side than we may have seen. It's not so much about him; it's more about his observations on society, his clear anti-war stance that he's taking, the anti-corruption. Like, it's fucked up to him that these people are dying for a government that doesn't care about them. That just for the sake of business, like the military-industrial complex is a bit of a fucked up thing when you really think about it. I love the little bridge that comes in. It's calm, it's dingier, etc. It's a little break between the second and third choruses. And it just fucking comes in. Like, it's just pretty fucking epic. It's pretty fucking nice. I gave this track a 4.5 on 5. It's definitely one of the stronger ones on this album, and I ain't playing.
Time to get familiar, D.Craze is a monster. Villain full of hate, known to decimate and conquer.
Yeah, this one comes in pretty rough. Like, it's like almost more aggressive sounding. It's like a good contrast. Again, I feel like every time a song starts, you never really know what you're going to get, and that keeps this album interesting considering its length. He uses a good use of speed and differentiation on the hook to like kind of draw you in. Like, it feels like a hook. It's like you definitely get the sense that he ain't playing anymore. He has no time or tolerance for like the mainstream bullshit that's going on. I like when he's like this. It kind of has like this just an overall feel where he doesn't like the lame shit that is considered like popular, and like he just kind of comes in it. I like when he's like, I'm the alpha and omega, lay up on competition, born to be the worst is the first verse of Catholicism. The Lord Jesus and non-believers can't comprehend how rap could send the gallow in with the intent to slaughter men, etc. And like, it doesn't have a lot, let's say, new in terms of talking about. He just kind of brings in with that consistent level of talent that he's been displaying. It's on the slower, gruffer, more darker edge of this album. I give this one a 4 on 5. Sorry, I don't have a lot more to say. It's a good song. It was not one of my favorite ones, mostly because of the beat. And he was all right. I guess I'm more drawn to the deeper end of like the thought spectrum on this, and this one was again a little more of just flossing and braggadocious in nature, which I appreciate the wittiness that he displays, but on a preference front, it's never going to be my favorite kind of hip hop. Anyway, the next track is Let It All Die.
It all away is hard to say based on opinions. Handshakes get invited, but short-sighted with raisin.
Alright, I can tell I dropped the ball a bit on the last one. My bad. So let's talk about this one. The beat has such an epic fucking feel. I don't know if it's just the voice in it that, like, I don't know what song it was sampled, but just the voice in the background of that beat that was like, da 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 da, just kind of like singiness that really accented it in such an epic way. Like, if you were to, like, do anything, you just feel more like you're playing Skyrim or something. But lyrically, it's just so powerful. If I believe it, I can achieve it. Self-doubt's a demon. Practice what you preach. Nothing's out of reach. Negative thoughts delete them. I love that. That's kind of shit I've been preaching to like everybody lately. It's like I visualize this future, and I believe it's possible. Therefore, it is within the realms of not possibility. I can now start stacking the deck in a way that allows me to get there. Self-doubt will destroy you because it's what keeps people from starting to go and put themselves through the grind, which is fucking hard. And At the end of the day, if you practice what you preach, you stay true to yourself, and you get rid of negativity, you can start to move on, you know? The haters hate, they hold no weight. The gracious rise above it. Give it all you got, every single shot. Never lie to love it, straight from the heart. It's the cards, the garden flows with laughter. Every challenge completed means the completion of another chapter. And it's just, again, this like positiveness where like we're deep into the album now, and we're getting this almost like sense of, even though all this shit's hard and you got all these skills and he's proven himself and whatnot, you're getting a little more into maybe the philosophy of how he stays motivated and how he keeps himself grinding by just recognizing challenges for what they are and learning how to take advantage of the opportunities and stay true to yourself in the middle of it. And just fucking awesome. He describes the pain of the grind, and I really like when he's like redefine what it means to succeed or let it die. So it's like, understand that maybe what success is in your life isn't going to be like fucking like mainstream AT40 like billboard shit, but fuck it, I'd call it successful if I had Bizzy Bone on my album, throwing it out there. So that was pretty cool. I really appreciated that. The empty hook with just the sample playing, the guitars on that like lack of chorus is fucking awesome. A really enjoyable experience. The next verse paints him as unstoppable, like how he takes almost that advice that he put into play in the first verse to give you that mindset, and then he really just shows you how he applies it to his life and his reality and the world that he's living in as this guy on the grind trying to make it all happen for himself. To a point you're rooting for him. You know he's gonna win. You know he's gonna achieve that stuff because of everything he believes in and what he visualizes and what he sees for himself, and it inspires you and makes you want. Well, inspired me and made me want to try harder. It made me want to put in that work. You know, I'm giving this a 4.3. It's a really, really fucking cool song, and I would recommend this to people. It's really good to listen to. The next one that we're gonna talk about though is EOD. EOD, I don't know.
Faded light, wrong is right, wicked in a fight, morals getting looser like Medusa.
I don't really know what EOD stands for. Maybe I should have Googled that. I didn't. I like the voice that's like used in this beat, not in the same way that there was like a sample used, but more like there's like a ha 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 kind of sound that's like used as an instrument in this beat, and I thought that was fucking cool too. I love the fact that right away there's this attack on the love of money. Like money inherently isn't evil. Like you can be rich and not be evil, but the obsession and the love of money is what kind of makes people evil. And I like how he starts off this video with that like the sample from like that Facebook. I saw it on Facebook where it's that guy talking to, I don't know what show it's from, and he's like talking to a room full of people about what used to make like America great and like how America is not anymore, and like stuff like we used to be able to be intelligent and take criticism and shit. So it was cool to hear like a sample of something I recognized. And then he's like, fuckers brag about money like it's the measure of a man's. Spending 100 grand hit with iron fist something Iran. So understand, money don't make the man, it's an illusion, weakness of the defiled, step to the side or keep it moving, etc. Like then he goes in with lines like, "These suckers got no substance, they bluffing, nothing within them." And he's like pointing out the shallow, vapid nature of what your life is. If all you rap about is how rich you are, or how famous you are, or if your whole world is just this pursuit of getting a higher salary, or there's no loyalty, there's no substance to your life, he's kind of calling you out on that. And maybe he isn't the richest person, but I'm going to assume, but he is full of character, and that is something I have seen across this album, and it makes me want to go more listen to him than, say, an artist like Travis Scott will say, who generally just reminds me how his life's better than mine the whole way, whereas D.Craze is making me feel like I want to get up and try even fucking harder. The next verse kind of goes into the state of intellectual awareness these days, and the fact that folks seem to be like unable to identify what's good or bad. Everyone's confused. It's like blinded marketing that prevents us from like even being on the right path because people are so fucking confused, so that they're obsessed with shit like money. It's really cool. I just kind of wanted to respond to something in the hook where he kind of comments how social media is part of the enemy, and I disagree with that sentiment. I know a lot of people feel that social media is inherently bad. I think social media is a tool. It's just bad for ignorant people. It is abused by people, but it isn't bad. It's just a tool. I don't think like I'd be here without social media. So for all the bad it does, there's a whole lot of good. But I get the sentiment of what he was trying to say, how the way it's used for like fake news and shit really confuses and hurts people. This track's pretty awesome. It's deep and shit. I'm giving it another 4.25. Really enjoyable track. And the next one is Like Picasso.
Minimize all of the guys and take it back to simpler times. These friends of mine know to read the signs and understand.
I like the fact that one of the first things you hear is about how Mario stomps Koopa kids, and he's like that. This track is awesome. Like, it's got this cool flow to it. I like the chorus, the premise, paint like a perfect picture in your ear like Picasso. No one do it better, make it clear like Picasso. And like he's kind of riding his wavelength like Picasso, and the way he approaches the game and the way he thinks and the way he appears is just on a completely another level. Is like the premise of this track. The beat's a little bit out there too. It's not your regular sound, which is really cool. I like when he's like, been a pro, it's getting go, and no, I'm not a people pleaser, racking up the follows of apostles, spreading gospel, etc. And like you get the sense that through his like lack of conformity or lack of selling out or trying to like please people, as he says, we reached his point where he's actually gaining clout and followers, and people are almost responding to that realness. And I like that. I like the idea of that, and I bet that it's fucking true. I like the flow that he has. He keeps it going. It's smooth. It's on point. It's consistently interesting. It's not the fastest flow, but he does little things to make it trickier along the way. I enjoyed the line, my generation face complication like trying to do work with no occupation. And that's a fucking interesting sentiment. And I wonder if it's talking about illegal stuff like drugs or whatever. But I also wonder if it's like the way that we're moving towards a contract freelance world where giant corporations are almost trying to pay for labor without actually giving you a valid or real occupation. I mean, there's just so much to take away from that one lyric. I thought it was cool. I'm giving this one a 4.25. Good song. Definitely something I would want to listen to again. Like it's part of this consistently solid groove. I feel like some of the less braggadocious he is, and that's just my preference, and the more like describing things that he gets, or the more inspirational it feels, the more I'm gonna like it. Anyway, the next track is Send Them Home. I like how this one starts off like you're expecting some kind of trapping, the clappiness comes in, and then like the hook kicks in, and it just veers complete left, slaps you in the face, and takes you in like a whole different direction. It's a good sound. I like when it's like looking at the bigger picture, got me chucking deuces. Once was young and stupid, now fresh out of excuses. People lives on them, but me I call it people lives on them. Me, I call them useless. The way I treat these rhymes at times is borderline abusive. Always on the grind, never in line for the lottery. Working hard for everything. My life has been an odyssey. Honestly, it's gotta be. Hard work has made a mockery. Then he goes on to attack culture. So here we have him coming in, and he's like, recognize that there's a lot of bad things that may have happened in his life, but they're the result of his own choices and the effort that he put in, his prioritizations and shit. So as he's getting older, shit's not cute anymore. He doesn't got the excuses he used to have, and then flips it. He starts putting in the work. He starts putting in the grind. He starts trying to like accomplish his shit, and then he's starting to notice, and I'm assuming this because it's something I noticed, that as you start to put in that work, you look around and like people just don't share that sentiment. People just don't want to better themselves. Everyone seems to be like committed into their own stuff, and I feel like this is like almost a response to that. Like, you know what, you don't want to like fuck with my shit, you don't want to improve yourself, you don't want to have a better way of life in like your life or anything, get the fuck out of here, send them home. And like I like the general energy of this song. I like the message of this song. I like the fact that again he's able to bring in new styles. So like again, you run the risk with this style shifting where maybe not every song is going to come off like a fucking banger, but on the other hand, I was able to find at least one song that I was like fucking flawless. Perfect song. And I think that a lot of people are going to be able to go through this project and find like one or two songs that just blow them out the fucking water. The rest of them are going to be consistently good, but it allows that to happen when you prove you're this varied. And I like that he's more interested in showing the versatility of the art than maybe trying to secure a banger or limit himself to a particular sound. Be that as it may, This one, the flows change up to meet the different variations that happen in the beat, so the beat changes quite a few times as the verse progresses, and every time he meets it with a new rhythm to keep it interesting. And yeah, I'm giving this a 4.25 on 5. It's another fun and really enjoyable song. There's a couple left, and then you'll be done with all of my blah, blah, blah.
Anderson Silva at a steep peak and he's choking your throat. I wish the world could die so I could give it a eulogy.
All right, we got another Chino verse on here. He starts us off, and I like when he's like, yo, my vocabulary clean. Always wanted to stick my dick inside a Avril Lavigne, because a younger me totally agrees with him. Like, I remember being a teenager and just wanted to smash that so bad. She was one of my favorites when I was younger and, you know, still did celebrity crushes. So I empathize with that, Chino. He comes in with his crazy flows, and it's really, like, it's nice. I feel like of all the Chino verses, this one is the best performance he did on the album. He's fast, it's tricky, but it's like super clear, and it really fits the beat proper. I like how there's I like how D.Craze comes in and he has his little shout out to Cool G Rap and the little tricky parts at the beginning. This is the 19th song. My lyric skills of notations were a little weak at this point. But I do like how D.Craze keeps flipping it up, how he matches Chino's quick flow. Like, instead of contrasting or being something different, I feel like they just bounced off each other, and it's like almost synonymous in the way that their flows hit each other. It was really, really nice. I like how he's rapping, but the beat kind of got to me a little bit. It wasn't really one that I thought was so interesting. So I feel like whereas the rapping was almost elevated, the production work irritated me a little bit more than I was hoping for. But I do like how D.Craze ends this track with a finish him, like straight out of Mortal Kombat, and it kind of like ends like that. I don't have a lot more to comment because, again, this beat was not one of my favorites, so it made me not want to sit with it as long. So I give it a 4.1 because the rapping, like I said, is fucking stellar, and I could see how a lot of other people are going to like this track more. And yeah, one more, and let's talk about Unphasable.
No mask in the fast kid. Yeah, let's talk more action. I'm down the ride. Seatbelt stay fast.
This one kind of like caught me off guard a bit because I really just wasn't expecting a poppy auto-tuned type chorus. I believe it was Marka who does it. I'm not saying it's bad. Lyrically, it's fine. It's like it fits the track even. Everything's good. Like the beat, everything's so poppy sounding. And I almost like the way he ends it with like this underground pop song, all things considered. It was just such a, I guess, unexpected move. But if you are going to be the best, you got to be the best at everything, right? But yeah, the hook definitely comes in, doubled over auto-tune. I liked it. It just caught me off guard. I believe Tone is the rapper who does the first verse. I didn't really quote anything, but it was a really, really enjoyable flow. He comes in and kind of fast-paced and whatnot. This seems like it's a subpar analysis of him. He was enjoyable to listen to, and I have zero complaints. None of the lyrics blew my mind, but they were all really adequate, and there was nothing that felt like filler. Then D.Craze sounds really good on this, which is fucking like, because it's so different than I guess the rest of the project. It's awesome that he ends up coming through and following suit and proving that he is just that versatile guy that can fucking do anything. He could even go pop if he wanted, I guess. I like when he says start feeding on the shit like the back of Human Centipede, because anytime that you can put that imagery in, it's usually well done. It was really good. The beat of this track is just epic. It feels like there's this victorious sense to it. And I mean, on an album that has sometimes darker or more aggressive themes, when you get to the end of the project and it just kind of comes off feeling a little bit like this triumph, this victory, it really is this satisfying feeling even as a listener. So I think of all the songs on the album, this is the perfect one to close the project out. It's a 4.5 on 5. It was really great. I really, even though it came off, like I said, the poppy or whatever, I thought it was really an excellent choice, a really good song to bring. And that's about it. That's the end of this 20-song project. I gave the album a 4.31 on 5. I enjoyed this project. I feel like there's definitely shit for me to go back in, and there's this like authenticity to it. It's like there's definitely some improving work. I feel like D.Craze can be in some places a little unclear, and it's sometimes a little hard to figure out what he's trying to say, and that's unfortunate. But and now when I say sometimes, I mean it's like a word here or there. It's very rare. But in general, that also might be me misinterpreting accents or things like that. But that little criticism out, man, like this album is diverse. It's 20 songs and it doesn't really get boring. It's got this consistent flow to it. It's about an hour and 5 minutes. It varies. There's so many different styles and sounds that he comes in, but he kind of remains consistent and he hits each beats right, but he keeps his core sound to his lyrics and stuff while almost like using these beats to showcase a canvas of different styles that like almost he could be. Lyrically, it's got braggadocious, it's got political, it's got conscious, it's got feel good, it's got all the different things you could possibly need. And I would recommend this to you if you are into that underground lyrical shit. If you feel like there's this something missing in the mainstream, instead of a guy like maybe some of the strange music folk who whine a lot, I feel like D.Craze really came in and gave you some valuable shit right here. So you should check that out. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Definitely happy that you came and checked this out, that you stuck with me, that you watched this even though nobody else showed up to help me with this podcast. I do want to just give a special thanks to Mozart, Lindell Williams, and Super Old School in 1994, our patrons. They're fucking awesome. They support this. They want to see us grow. We get better equipment, a better studio, all that. If you want to support us like that, you get to join the request raffle where you can pick something that we cover, even if it's your album, if it's any album, and everyone throws in their request. Pick one, have to do it. We're going to expand it as the Patreon grows, and you get access to early content, a couple other things. And then if you don't want to do that, you can always just hit that subscribe button, like, and all that crap that helps the channel grow. But really, I want to hear your comments. I would love to know what you thought. The comments is definitely the most interesting part of this experience for me, and I've learned so much through that, so I definitely will read them and respond to everything that appears. Thank you all for watching this. Really appreciate it. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Peace.